welcome to the Wolfguard Zone. We want to help educate business owners on what to expect of their IT support in an effort to help any business get quality IT that they deserve. I'm Chris Kimbell with Wolfguard IT, and we have Tom joining us today. You want to give a quick intro of your company?
Sure. Competitive Arts, we're another MSP out of the Green Bay, Wisconsin area. And I believe it's the second time I've been on the show with you, Chris, and I'm glad to be back. It's always fun having these discussions.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining me again. On the topic today, we're going to be talking about the importance of a tech having a stop and think mindset. And so this can pertain to if you're hiring another IT company or if you have your own internal IT. But a quick example of having a stop and think mindset. I was talking with another IT company that was training a new tech, and they had a request from a client. The client called and said, "Hey, your antivirus is blocking this program that I need." And the tech was just going to go in and just whitelist, that threat because the client requested of them. They got a request and they just take action. And luckily, that was locked down to where only certain engineers could whitelist. But that's just an example of trying to first and think before you just take action. Should that be whitelisted? Is there a reason why your antivirus is blocking it? And I just find a lot of techs in the industry are basically just told, go help the customer, do whatever they ask, go on site and just take action. And they're not really trained on thinking before they take action. What do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah, I think that's a really true statement, actually. As a society, we're trained to really value our time above all else. So we're trying to be fast, we're trying to be efficient. We feel like we're always under pressure, especially when that client is saying, "Hey, I'm losing productivity here, just whitelist the thing." Mm-hmm. So you've got someone breathing down your back and you're just trying to make them happy. But to borrow from some of the people I've talked to over the years, and I think this might even be a military saying, if I remember right, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So many times in my illustrious career, let's say, I can think of times where I was trying to be fast, and unfortunately, it was never anything dramatic, but you're just typing and you're like, rather than think about it, I'm going to quick put this command set in. Mm-hmm. It's going to work. I know what I'm doing. And you run it in, and next thing you know, you're like, oops, I just took a service down. So you quick bring the service back up, and now you think.
Yeah.
But how much time did you lose? 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Hopefully nothing more than that. But so, in regards to just going out and doing stuff, I think it's a mental mindset that we have to get past. And, some of it comes to that value, some comes to trust.
Yeah, another example could be waiting after hours to reboot a server instead of just saying, "Oh, there's a problem right now. I want to fix it, but it's not all that critical, to do right now."
I absolutely agree with that one. And as much as I'm embarrassed to say it, fortunately not recently, but I have been guilty of that one. Not taking the time to say, "Yeah, we can wait on this. It's okay."
Yeah. Sometimes it's fine either way. You could go to a customer and say, "Hey, to fix what you're wanting, and you reboot the server. I can do it right now if you want me to, but just FYI that everything is going to come down," and they might just okay it. But it's at least having that conversation and just thinking about the consequences, I think is kind of what it comes down to. And that could apply to a lot of other things. I talk to clients a lot about continuity, during every technology QBR, quarterly business review. And one of the pages is continuity. If there's a critical piece of equipment or service that if it were to go down would be a major impact, to your business, let's talk about it. How can we, on a continuity level, it could be a server. If that server were to go down, can you live with it being down for an hour, 2 hours, maybe a few days if there's hardware problems? Mm-hmm. And then setting a plan to put in place, backup disaster recovery or some failover or something.
Absolutely. For me, the education point when I come to my client.
There you go. Yeah, education.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
But I use the term more strategic planning than I do stop and think IT, but same concept, right? We want to take the time to plan out what we're doing, not just shoot from the hip. So we talk about it in 3 different contexts. We'll talk about it in terms of the user. And, I mean, in today's day and age of phishing attacks and, some of the very social engineering pieces, I'll just come in through email alone. Right there, you're getting people to stop and slow down for a split second before they go ahead and click that.
Right.
And an example of that, I had a client that reached out. They saw an email come and they knew they made the mistake the second they did it, but they got an invoice that appeared like it was for one of their competitors. They said, boy, I want to see what they're getting for pricing.
Yeah.
He opened it. And fortunately, again, we had all the right systems in place. It was stopped immediately. There was no damage done, no productivity lost, good stuff. But, we had to sit down and have that conversation. What are you really going to gain out of knowing what your competitor is doing in this particular scenario? And there might be a small competitive edge, but really small.
Yeah. Well, and if it's not even a real email, like in that case too, what would happen if I did really want to see that, the impact it could bring? Because like on that antivirus example, if say he was able to go and whitelist it and it really was a threat, what's that impact that would have brought your company? It could have been viruses or ransomware or cause systems to just, I don't know, halt.
Right.
But yeah, it would not have been worth it.
Right. So the second level I'll educate my clients on is, their level as a business owner. What are you doing here? And they get excited. They see products, and sales does a great job, right? You have a pain point. Let me fix that for you. We're not going to talk about any pain points we might create, but let's talk about fixing this one pain point. And so getting to be able to sit at the table with my clients, I love sitting in on those sales calls with them so I can ask questions. And I typically find the sales team is not opposed to it anyway. They like having an expert there because then they can talk to me a little bit about, hey, there are these requirements in the system. And for me, one of the things I run into a lot is owners pulling the trigger before they know what the actual requirements are, because I didn't get to sit in on that conversation. So then there might be some hidden costs because maybe we need an extra piece of equipment we didn't realize. Or, working in the MID model, the labor part isn't as big of a deal for my clients, but there might be some time involvement for configuration stuff that wasn't discussed initially. So just thinking through those pieces. And then moreover, with my retail clients especially, they get really hung up on point of sale equipment and the various software programs. And I find that typically they use maybe 10% of the product they're already buying. So when I find out, well, what are the pain points being solved? It's like, well, wait a minute, we can do that right now. We've talked about this in our QBRs. We need to set this up.
Don't get distracted by the pretty.
Right. There's
pretty
a big
looks.
flashing light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's a great example.
Go ahead. It sounded like you were going to have something more to say on that.
Oh, no, it's just, just to kind of reiterate what you were saying on the applications. If I find a client is looking at some new piece, I'm like, please, we're your IT department. We're all inclusive, just like you guys, and it doesn't cost you anymore. Let us be that knowledge base or, team player with you and collaborate and go through and we're on your team.
Yeah. And then the third level I talk about is actually my level, how I have to stop and think. And I actually discuss that with my clients because it gives me a chance to take the pressure off them. Like, I have to do this. It's not just you guys. We have to think about this. And one of my favorite examples is we do use a third-party security operations center. And there's a distinct reason for that. We used to be in the weeds. We were down there sussing out the viruses, putting all the protections in place, trying to watch all the logs. And then one day I just kind of said, I don't know enough. It's getting to be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And about a couple of years back, I said, this is going to be dangerous. What would I really do? What could I really say to my client if I miss something? So, internally as a managed IT department, okay, we look at it as bringing scale, but
Mm-hmm.
externally for my client, taking the time to stop and think about what the impact to them can be if I'm not, being able to bring enough expertise. So we brought
Right.
that security operations center to the table. They do a fantastic job for us. They're 24/7. They know stuff before I do. And I'm not a
Yeah.
slouch. I'm in there, but I get the notifications before I even know it's happened. So
Right.
it's been phenomenal, and I love that's my favorite example to my clients. It was a moment where I got to stop, think, plan something out that gives you a better experience,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to do the same thing for your staff. You want to have a good
Yeah.
work environment and a good culture. So let's look at what we can do here.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and especially security is always changing and evolving on almost day-to-day basis. That it's hard for one person to keep up, with all that what's going on,
Yeah.
and just different threats and everything.
And then I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of clients that have the level of the level of redundancy needed when they're bringing new systems online, where they'll actually run two systems simultaneously. I don't know if that's something you've had to deal with. I would always love to do it. It's something that I've wanted to
Mm.
do for ages, and it's always a light switch. We're going to do a hard cut. We're going from product A to product B,
Oh,
and you
gotcha.
don't get a chance.
Hmm.
Um, and with a lot of the line of business apps, they will allow you to do an extended demo where you can run two systems side by side.
Yeah, yeah,
The problem, of course, being there's a loss of productivity because you got to do everything twice then as the staff
right.
member.
But a lot
But,
of times too, you start getting into it instead of just looking at it on paper, and then you find, oh, we didn't think about this, and then you can,
mm-hmm.
be involved, right there and help them, and maybe it's just a quick, um, address a certain piece that's super easy for you, but something they might not have thought of.
Exactly. So, it's something I've always wanted to have the opportunity to do, but I have yet to actually bring that one online. So one of these days we're going to get there, though.
Yeah, for sure. There's many different parts to, just the way you think. I love your three examples. And it's not even just like always security, but yeah, continuity or even, different way of printing, or just many different parts of the company. But if you don't think like that, it could be pretty big consequences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And even sometimes playing around with features, the Microsoft ecosystem of products, another thing, constantly evolving, right?
Mm,
So we've got all these new products to play with. I feel like every quarter I could spend a month learning about the new products that are out there in the ecosystem. It's
right.
probably not quite that dramatic, but and I see all these synergies. I'm like, boy, we can do this, we can do that. But
Mm,
at the same time, you got to take the time to do the strategic planning and see how it fits in their model. And that's the part that's fun.
yeah.
Sitting down with the strategic planning, going through it. What parts do I have to bring online all at the same time? Is there a way to base step them into it?
Mhm.
What kind of education pieces do we need? How are we gonna get the staff online with what they need to know, both with using the product and how to protect themselves? Obviously, you and I can go on about that for days.
Good stuff.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And it's not just on the IT side, but yeah, how it can impact our clients. So, yeah, very good. I want to offer everyone that is viewing an ebook that we created. So if you go to that address there, wolfguardit.com/11 security steps with a couple dashes there, you can get an ebook, and it's a collection of items that we have noticed over the years. Our company's been in business over 10 years now, and just things that we continually find that are big issues but are not addressed by IT. And so we've come in afterwards and just found these problems and they need to be addressed. So it tells you what to look out for, and so you can get it fixed with even your existing IT. But hopefully that can be of value to everybody. Thanks, Tom, for joining us again. And any other closing remarks you might have, or?
No, just had a lot of fun being here again. I'm always happy to come back.
Yeah, very good. All right, I appreciate it. Everybody stay safe. Bye.